Hello, I'm Joyce Woodworth. Welcome to the Spirit of the Heartland. Today I'm standing between the two buildings that used to be the Winona Middle School. The building to the east actually was built as the Winona Senior High School back in 1915, and the building to the west was built as the Junior High School. The building to the east served as the high school until the late 1960s, when the students moved into the present high school building in the west end of Winona. At that time, both of the buildings on Broadway became occupied by the junior high students, and in 1990, ninth graders moved into the new high school building, and the sixth graders entered the two Broadway buildings, making them the Winona Middle School. 2000 was the last year they were occupied as a school. And today they have been turned into apartment buildings. Let's go in and see how they look now and talk with some of the tenants to see what it's like living in the old high school. During the last week of school in 2000, we visited the Winona Middle School and recorded most of the rooms we see today at the Washington Crossing apartment buildings. On the outside, the biggest change is seen between the two buildings on Washington Street. We used to see a model-looking brick building with tiny windows which connected the west building to the auditorium and held the industrial arts and the music department, as well as a kitchen for the lunchroom. This building, which never matched the architectural style of the beautiful auditorium nor the two school buildings, was demolished. The auditorium, which was built in 1927, still stands empty and in need of repair. It still holds much of its charm, however, and could be purchased for a mere $5,000 and brought back to life again. The last performance on this stage starred the middle school age students in the musical 45 Minutes from Broadway. Behind the wall at the back of the stage is now the shell of what once was the gymnasium for the high school. The wooden floors are all buckled from water leaking through the roof. These two rooms, which once held all the excitement and drama from the school's extracurricular activities, now stand silent and forgotten. The classroom buildings, however, have been transformed into wonderful living spaces. 2 years after the school closed, Metro Plains Development Company from North Dakota purchased the buildings and land for $5,000 and spent over $7.5 million to remodel the school into apartments. The new entrance into the office area gives us a glimpse into how the building has changed. Off to the right is the stairway which leads to one of two community rooms they have developed for the comfort of all the tenants. If you look back to school days, this area was the lunchroom for the middle school students. I met with Wendy Slack, the current property manager, in this delightful room to hear more about the developers and the remodeling of the school into apartments.
They buy a lot of old schools, old churches, old, even hotels, and make them into apartment buildings. They find a really good idea, and what they do is they actually get tax credit help, and they make them low-income housing, which is what Washington Crossing is as well. We have low-income and market rate. What Metro Plains decided was 75% was going to be tax credit, which helps out low-income housing, which helps out single parents, the elderly, even just a regular worker who doesn't make too much. we can help them.
How many apartments do you have?
We have 62 apartments. Like I said, we have the 75% tax credit. So we have 42 tax and 20 market rate. Basically, the market rate are students.
I understand there are mostly 1 or 2 bedrooms.
Mm-hmm. When you have a 2-bedroom, the only difference between that and a 1-bedroom is that extra bedroom. We made it to have 2 different types of kitchens. We have a island type kitchen where you have a dining room, you have a living room, and then the bedrooms. We have an open kitchen where it's in the corner. Mm-hmm. So you kind of walk in and there's a sink and there's a dining room area, but there's no island. We have gray and we have beige units where it definitely is different. The style of the living rooms are all open, where you can decorate yourself. You can change them around. You can have a sofa in the corner, you can have it on the wall. They're big enough to where you can move it around. You don't have to stay in the same area. Mm-hmm. The bedroom, same way. If you have a king-size bed, it's going to fit in there and you can actually move it around. You don't have to be same over same over same. You can actually change it up. Mm-hmm.
And I also noticed, too, that all the walls and the woodwork, everything is in such wonderful shape. There's no nicks or anything like that.
Every time we have a move out, we have a maintenance gentleman that goes in. He fixes all the little nail holes. He paints it all the same way. He does the baseboards, the window sills, all the windows, and he gets it ready to where you're walking into a brand new apartment. Mm-hmm.
Well, Wendy, you're doing a great job keeping it up.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, let's also talk about the different community rooms. I noticed there are several.
Yep.
Let's describe those.
What we have is we actually have 2 community rooms. One is this one that we are in right now. It is wide where you can use it whenever you need to. A lot of people use it just for get-togethers, and they kind of just sit and relax. Mm-hmm. We have a second community room that you can actually close up. You have the privacy. We had 3 Thanksgiving dinners in it last year. We had 2 Christmas dinners in it. And there's a refrigerator, there's a dishwasher, there's everything in there that it's like your own apartment. Mm-hmm. You go in there and you just use it and you can close it up so people don't walk through. You don't need to pay for it.
And then you have also a really lovely courtyard area.
Yes. We actually have 2 of them. Uh-huh. We have 1 in each building. What we tried to do was have it where people could go out and grill. We have 2 benches out there, we have bike racks, and you just kind of go out there and relax. Mm-hmm. It's closed off where the public can't really walk in, so it's mainly tenants.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you go to school here in Winona?
I did not. Okay. I actually went to my hometown.
All right.
So I unfortunately didn't get to see this when it was a school. But from what I've heard, there were the science classroom doesn't look like it anymore. Mm-hmm. In the West building, they kept the faculty lounge, they kept the art room, all of the displays they kind of kept above the doors. Mm-hmm. You can imagine it, but I can't picture it just because I've never seen it.
Sure, you can't picture it as a school.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are many people out there that can't picture the old school as an apartment building. Yep. So hopefully we can show them what it's like today.
Yes.
And now you're going to give us a tour, and maybe we'll get to see some of the apartments and talk with some of the tenants.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wendy and I walked down the wide hall, which is unlike the narrow halls typically seen in most apartment buildings. However, we know that they were originally designed to hold a row of lockers on each side, not to mention a crowd of kids passing from one class to another. Back then, they could have been heading to one of the typical classrooms, such as Mrs. Beeman's 8th grade English class. This large room is now one apartment in Washington Crossing. We enter it from a smaller hallway, which holds 4 doors, each leading into a separate apartment that once was a classroom. This apartment definitely meets the wow factor. I'm taken aback by the charm and uniqueness of the decor, but also impressed with the character of the apartment itself. The brick on some of the walls was left exposed, providing a cozy feeling. The windows, which were once closed off at the top half, are now opened to the sunlight, making the apartment bright and cheery. Plus, the 12-foot-high ceilings offer plenty of wall space for displaying treasures and enhancements to the overall look of the living space. James, your apartment is incredible. I'm just amazed what you have done with this old classroom. I mean, it looks, to me, I feel like I'm sitting in Ernest Hemingway's apartment in Key West, Florida.
Well, I lived there for 15 years, so it probably had an influence on me.
Oh, probably did. Well, what brought you here to Winona?
Well, I used to live here about 25 years ago. I lived here for about 2 or 3 years, and I loved it. And when I wanted to leave Key West because of the frequent hurricanes and that, I decided that, this is where I'd like to come back to. And I still had a lot of friends here.
But why would you move into an old school building?
Well, I grew up across the street from the library. I've loved books all my life. My website, I have a food website, is primarily educational in nature. So the appeal of living in an old school building next door to the library in a downtown, I couldn't turn that down.
Wow, it fit you just perfectly, didn't it?
It does.
You have some beautiful leather-bound books here.
Yeah, I've collected books for quite a few years. I like to read. It adds something to it when you have a nice edition. You get more out of it and enjoy it more than just reading a paperback.
Sure.
I was a chef for about 30 years, and I now have a food website. It's a very large website. I think it's the largest independent website that one person has. It's about 15,000 pages. I get almost 2 million visitors a month to it, so
wow.
It's very popular. Anything to do with food, I have some section on the website.
Do you actually run your website from your apartment here?
Yes, that's what the second bedroom, the smaller bedroom is. I have my computers in there, and I do all my work on the website right there. That's why I love it. I work from home.
Sure. You have everything you need, don't you?
Exactly.
Well, as I look around, I see many, many interesting things in here. Tell me about some of your collections or some of your decor.
Well, some of it I've gotten from other chefs in that I've met through my website. I have some masks that come from Thailand. Those are from a chef. He runs a small culinary school in Thailand. I have various items from the Caribbean. Again, these are from other chefs, that I've met mostly through my website. I'm able to travel around the world through my website.
But tell me, what do you find unique about living in Winona, Minnesota?
The one thing that attracts me most to Winona and to Minnesota are the people. These are some of the friendliest, outgoing, helpful people I think you could find any place in the country.
Well, how do you find cooking here in your little kitchen?
I love the setup here. It's got an island for my prep work in that. I've got my own refrigerator, which is a little bigger than most of the ones in the apartments here. I cook for just one or two most of the time, myself or, one or two friends that might come over.
Well, James, I just have to ask you, can you share what you like to cook with us and maybe give us an idea of a recipe that is one of your favorites?
Well, I lived in Key West for so long. I fell in love with the fusion of Caribbean food with Eastern foods, Southeast Asian cooking. There's a lot of nice combinations there. I like fresh fish. I like using fruit salsas, mangoes, papaya, maybe with some red onion, and marinating fish in lime juice. That's one of my favorite dishes. It's quick, nice, lively flavor with the fruit salsas.
Sounds delicious, and you could do it with the local walleye pike, probably.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It works excellent with local fish.
Good. Well, we'll come over and watch you make that someday. How's that?
That would be great, yes.
Okay, James, thanks so much for meeting with us and sharing your apartment with us.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
From the fourplex apartments at each end of the building, we go back into the wide hall to check out the old science room which faces Broadway. This is how it looked in 2000 during the last week of school. Today it makes a lovely 2-bedroom apartment. To me it seems a bit bigger than some of the others. Maybe it's because the person who has occupied it is in the process of moving out, so it is somewhat empty. The tall windows, all facing south, bring in lots of sunlight, really making this a cheerful apartment. The day we taped was one of those stormy early June days, but as you can see, we capture the interesting view out the bedroom window.
I can still picture this as the old science room with the countertops and the old Bunsen burners on top of them and the kids throwing their backpacks here and there. And now it really is a charming apartment. The apartments actually are very reasonably priced. I think it's $775 for a two-bedroom apartment here, and if you get government subsidized, it's only $580 for a two-bedroom. A one-bedroom is about $650, and a subsidized on that is $470. So they're very reasonably priced in a great location.
We head back down the second floor in the elevator, which opens up by the original entrance to the old high school. The elevator shaft runs up the center of the building, where once was a hallway with a ramp which led to the old gym and auditorium. On this floor, we visit the old math room, which is now a lovely one-bedroom apartment. What really strikes me about this living space is the 4 large windows with the double shelves at their base, a perfect place for the occupant to display all her treasures.
I'm sitting with Dorothy Kanowski, who is a resident here at the old middle school, now Washington Crossing. And actually, Dorothy went to school here at the junior high, when it was the junior high, the West.
This was the senior high.
Right, and you went to the
other
East
school
building?
was the junior high, yeah.
Oh, well, tell me about it. Do you remember it way back?
7th, 8th, and 9th grade was across the street, and 10th, 11th, and 12th was in this building.
Okay.
Years ago, when you mostly wore dresses that your mother made, and they'd be trimmed in rickrack.
Oh, I remember
Everybody
that.
looked alike. And sometimes they make them out of Wingo flower bags when you went to school. You could see yourself walking down the street.
Well, now you live in an old school. What's
No,
that
I
like?
live in an old school. I never graduated from school.
Okay.
I quit and went to work, like
All
a
right.
lot of people did my age.
Well,
Years
you're
ago.
from Winona, aren't you?
Yeah.
And tell me what you did when you worked.
I worked at the Winona Hotel for years, and before that I worked at the Park Hotel, and I don't think I was old enough to wait on half these people, but I lied my age and worked anyway.
I think a lot of people did way back
Yeah,
then.
I think everybody did.
How does this serve you as an apartment?
I love it. I'll tell you, it makes a wonderful apartment home. And here we have a locked lobby, which I like that. Not anybody can just walk in and out of the door. You know.
Well, is it quiet? Can you hear your neighbors?
Very quiet now.
It is.
I never hear them.
Okay. And
Of course, I go to bed at 7:30 at night.
do you really? Well,
I'm
and
up
you
by 4:30, so
you have a wonderful view here. You
that's
overlook
what I got.
Johnson
I said,
Street.
I love this. And right on Johnson Street, I can see all the people coming and going. Got everything right here. And you'd be amazed the people you meet here. You know, a lot of them like to come in and just look around. When I first moved in here, if you'd leave the door open, they were in. They'd walk through looking around and reminiscing. It's nice.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's convenient. It's nice, and it gives you a lot of shelves for your collections. Tell me about
I
your
love it.
collections.
Well, my stuff is mostly I have 7 children, so a lot of my stuff I have gathered for years. And sometimes they'll still come in. My sons will sit up here. That's mine. That's going to be mine. This is going to be mine. I said, wait a minute, I'm still here. They talk about it like you're in past tense already. You know?
Sure. Thank you so much for sharing everything with us.
Well,
it's
I
very
didn't
nice
share
of you.
an awful lot. I love Winona, you know.
Washington Crossing is the perfect place for Dorothy and other senior citizens who love Winona because it puts them in the center of town within walking distance of restaurants, churches, and the library. It also seems to be the perfect place for the busy young mother raising a child, working part-time, and going to college.
We're in Jessica Curry's apartment here on the 3rd floor. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, how are you?
Now, Jessica is a single mom and is raising her child in the old high school here. What's it like for you here?
I love it, actually. I love the space of the apartment. I love the location of the apartment just because it's a couple blocks away from the university, and I attend the university, and my daughter goes to school just 4 blocks down the road one way, and 2 blocks down the road the other way is the YMCA, which goes to her after-school care. So as far as the location, I love it. As far as the apartment itself, it's gorgeous. It's I love the historical aspects of it. I think that the fact that they renovated it and did such an incredible job, it's a pretty nice opportunity to live in something like that.
Oh, I'm assuming, Jessica, this is your daughter?
Yes.
Oh, she's darling.
Thank you.
So she's about 5?
She's 5. She'll be 6 the end of next month.
Oh,
so
she's
she'll be
so
starting first grade.
cute.
Thank you.
Well, what's it like for her living in the old high school?
It's neat for her. I try and tell her that this used to be a school, and I think she still has a hard time understanding that concept. Like, this used to be classrooms and stuff, you know. It's exciting for her, though. I mean, I think it's kind of a neat piece of history, and when her friends come over, they just think it's the neatest place, and they say, oh, you must be rich or something, because, you know, these 5-year-olds, because you have an elevator and, you know, the high ceilings and everything. So it's fun for her and her friends, I think. I actually live right next door to a portion of the school that they haven't renovated yet, and I don't know if you're familiar with that, and it has the gymnasium and stuff in there. Well, I can kind of see, out my window I can see that, and so I really get the sense of, you know, this really is a building that, you know, was put to use by children, so.
Sure. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it so much. Sounds like
Thank
it's
you.
perfect for you.
Thank you.
Across the street in the original junior high building, built in 1925, are 28 more apartments. The halls are more colorfully decorated here. However, the lockers and the hustle of young students are no longer in existence. But the essence of the old school is still here. On the second floor, for instance, the stage is still intact, and the original hand-etched plaster still highlights the walls. Even the case that originally held the fire hose can still be seen. The original auditorium, which held the library in the middle school days, now makes up 2 charming apartments. The art room on the 3rd floor is presently the home of Charles and Eileen Houck and their dogs Lucky and Angel. Eileen shows us the 2-bedroom apartment, which is spread across the front of the building facing Broadway.
This is our 2nd bedroom. This is the one we call the playroom. I sew, as you can plainly see with all the stuff, and I'm quilting here. My husband's plaything is his computer, and so that's what we do here.
The wall next to the windows was added to make the 2nd bedroom. Before, we can see how the space was open when it was a classroom. The corner of the classroom, which once held the kids' art projects, is now the dining space for the apartment, and the windows have a new meaning for the room. Lucky and Angel's favorite thing to do is sit by them and watch the cars go by. Charles and Eileen chatted with me about the convenience of living in the old school building.
And you live comfortably up here with your little doggies, don't you?
Right.
We do. It's one of the main reasons we moved here.
Now, the 2 of you live here sort of on a different basis. You're not full-time residents.
Right.
Tell us about how it works.
Well, we are really residents of California. And where we live in California, Palm Desert, it gets to be about 115 in the summer.
Well, we live here 4 months from about the end of May till the middle of September or the end of September, and then we come back in December for parties.
Last year, we hosted it in the community room here,
Oh, perfect.
which was wonderful.
It was just perfect.
And we had
Everybody
it
loved
catered by St. Mary's Food Service, and everybody was impressed with the room, with the food.
How's the location for you?
It's wonderful. It's close to everything. We go to Mass every morning, and if we are really ambitious, we can walk and be there in a few minutes. We joined the Y for their Summer Sizzler program, so that's just across the street.
And it's fun.
Good.
It's fun to live here.
And are you finding it is well constructed?
Very well. Very well.
Good.
You can't hear from one apartment to the next.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything. It sounds like the 2 of you are perfect for this building.
Yeah, it really is a perfect place to be.
The last apartment we look at in the West Building takes us into the old home ec room, now occupied by Carol Miskey and her young son, Isaac.
What do you think about living in an old high school?
It's amazing. I like to walk through the halls every day and remember that this once was teeming with a whole bunch of high schoolers just running on to get to their next stop. Sometimes I even get nervous about finding my locker on time, even though I'm still right at home.
Oh, that's great. Your apartment is really charming.
Yeah.
Now, do you help your mom find some of these antiques?
We go to garage sales and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you have a 2-bedroom apartment here, right?
Yeah. One bedroom's over there, and the other bedroom's just around the corner.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like you both kind of have a flair for 40s, 50s type of decor.
Yeah. This apartment actually worked out really well because of that reason. Because it's an older apartment, which my mom really likes, but it's refinished. So I get my kind of new age, I guess, type of era.
Uh-huh. Sure. Well,
Yeah.
that's great. Now, I see you actually have a bookshelf over there from when it was high school.
When this was actually high school, we were cleaning out the shelves.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And we actually found this calendar that was from October of 70 years ago. Down in the bottom, there was an advertisement advertising sausages.
So now you're 14 years old?
Yeah,
Is that
I'm
right?
14.
So you would have been, did you just graduate from 8th grade?
Yep.
Okay. So you would have been in school right here. This would have been your home ec classroom.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah, and to live here. It's awesome.
It's amazing. Like the river is just a couple blocks away. There's not much traffic, but yet except it's right on 6th. So it's right next to like the major road right in town. And I'm also really close to the library and most of my friends' houses.
Great. Well, thanks for showing us your apartment.
You're welcome.
And
Thanks
good
for
luck
coming.
here. Okay, thank you,
Thanks.
dear. Well, we finished the tour here at the Washington Crossing Apartments, which once was the old high school and the old middle school. I'm sure it looked very familiar to many of you, especially the stairwells, where you used to probably rush to make your class on time. It's been a very interesting experience and great tour, seeing how they changed it into these beautiful apartments. Thanks for joining me today. Please join me again next week. Till then, enjoy the spirit of the Heartland.